All right, welcome back to Common Sense, our monthly show sponsored by Ohio Valley Bank here at the University of Rio Grande Studios, where we talk about business needs as they relate to the banking community here in Southern Ohio. And Ryan, we usually talk about the Buckeyes, and it's time to start a new season off right. Today's really the first day of the new football season.
Today's the start of next football season.
That's
National
right.
Signing Day.
National Signing Day.
Although, most of our recruits have already committed, but there's still a couple out there we'd like to find.
Not much room left at the end right now.
Not much, that's right. It's a crowded roster.
The good ones come in early.
It's a good problem to have.
That's right. That's a good thing. Good thing to look forward to next year, starting into August.
Sure.
So,
Yep.
But anyway, on today's show we have Jimmy Wiseman. Jimmy is with the Wiseman Agency here in Gallipolis, insurance agency, and he's going to join us to talk a little bit about the insurance needs of small businesses here in the region, and just different solutions for small businesses as they relate to insurance and the needs.
Be really great information for small business to have. That's one of the questions as SBDC counselors we get all the time is what kind of insurances do we need? And my generic answer to that is go talk to an insurance agent.
That's right.
So today we've got someone here that can help answer some of those questions, or at least maybe not all of them, but at least have you more prepared when you do go talk to someone.
Right. Because the answer is not the same for every.
It's not the same
for every business that starts. That's for sure.
Yep.
So Jimmy, welcome to the show today.
Welcome. Guys, thanks so much for having me. I'm glad to be here. Appreciate the University of Rio Grande hosting us, and of course Ohio Valley Bank sponsoring this program. So thanks again for having me.
Good.
Glad you're here.
Good. Well, Jimmy, if we could start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and where you work at and some of your involvement in the community here locally. That's kind of an ongoing theme that we've had with this show. It's everybody that we have on here is from the community. Big part of Ohio Valley Bank is the community, and I know you follow that same thing.
We do. That's our motto as well, community first, and like to give back to the communities we live and work in. But yeah, I'm Jimmy Wiseman with the Wiseman Agency, Gallipolis, self-insurance and other financial products. Some of the community involvement that I'm involved in. I'm currently the president of the Community Improvement Corporation for Gallia County, also the president of the Gallipolis Downtown Revitalization Project, past president of the Gallia County Chamber of Commerce, and been involved in numerous other committees and volunteer a lot of time. So,
Sure. Well, we hear insurance is in your blood.
No doubt about it.
You tell us.
Kind of can't get away from it in my family, but I'm part of the fourth generation of my family to be in the insurance industry, work at the Wiseman Agency. Two cousins with me right now, Alex Wall and Nick Roach. We are the fourth generation and have some of the third generation still working with us. Not kicking them out quite yet, but
Sure.
But my great-grandfather started the agency in 1928, and we've been operating ever since then. Primarily not in the same location. Been there since 1989, but it's definitely in the blood, and really enjoy the business, and it can be a lot of fun and very fulfilling.
Sure.
Okay. Well, with the Small Business Development Center, we see many different types of businesses, even on a daily basis. We want to talk a little bit about insurance today and what some of those different needs might be for those businesses. What kinds of insurance might a small business owner be interested in, or what things really influence their daily operations, or that they should really pay attention to and be aware of?
Sure. Insurance is one of the key things for a business owner, and sometimes, especially new businesses, they're thinking about their product or their service, and we kind of come in at the back and, oh yeah, that's insurance. That's something we definitely need to have. And insurance can vary depending on the type of business that you have, but for the most part, there's several lines of coverage that everybody needs some or all of. You have your general liability, that's pays damages for property damage or bodily injury, if you injure something or damage something in the course of your business. Property coverage, this can be both for buildings that you may own or lease, as well as the contents of those buildings, so your desks and equipment and anything like that in the building. That's something that every business owns something, so that's your asset that you want to protect. Also, depending on your type of business, you may have corporate vehicles, so you may need a business auto policy to cover your exposures while out on the road doing delivery or whatever it might be. or just driving to and from job sites. It doesn't have to be a delivery exposure. Professional liability, that's another thing that's kind of specialized depending on the type of business you have. But, a professional liability would be such as an accountant or something. They buy the professional liability. It's also kind of an errors and omissions. It would pay damages that caused by their errors in their work, whereas the general liability would be damages for caused to bodily injury
Medical
or property.
field.
Medical field, yes.
Yep.
Medical field is a huge one. Some other things, work comp and cyber liability. Cyber liability is protect for data breach and hacking and things like that. And the workers' compensation, that's huge. A lot of agents here in Ohio, we don't talk about it very often because here in Ohio you have to purchase it through the Bureau of Work Comp, and that's through the state fund and not bought through agents. But it's still an extremely important coverage. If you have employees, you have to have work comp coverage, and that's the only way you can protect your employees for injuries on the job.
Right. So you mentioned general liability, and we get that question a lot from especially startup companies that may seem to them that they don't have, have a lot of liability. But that's that larger number you usually see, like $1 million,
Yes.
$2 million aggregate.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
And maybe a little more detail on
Sure.
what that covers?
When it comes to general liability, like you said, you normally buy, say, $1 million per accident up to a $2 million aggregate. So the aggregate, that just means that's the most that the insurance company will pay in any one policy period. Okay. Policy period is typically a year. Some companies may sell a 3-year policy, but that's typically what the aggregate is. And say it's $1 million, then that's what they'll pay for any one incident. So, I'd say you're a grocery store and I come in and slip and fall, they may pay up and injure myself up to $1 million for that accident. Well, if you have 40 of them, they're only going to pay up to $2 million for the total policy period.
Okay.
But that's just kind of a basic. But slip and falls, things like that. It could be that you're a contractor and you damage someone's property in the course of your job. It could pay for damages that way as well.
Right. One of the things that we run across a lot is we work with individuals who are starting their business, and the first thing is how do I structure my business?
Sure.
Obviously you can set up a limited liability company, which provides you a little bit of protection from your personal assets. And a lot of folks just typically choose to go with a sole proprietorship, just kind of put their name out there and run with it. Coming from the insurance side, do you see one of those options as better or safer for that individual than the others?
I'm not an attorney.
Well, we're not either. That's why I asked you.
I want to clarify that, but I don't want to give any legal advice or anything like that. But I would recommend that you create an LLC or incorporate or do something to try to protect your personal assets. There's ways with personal insurance, such as a personal umbrella, that we may be able to help protect you for some of your business work. But at the end of the day, you don't want your business to cause you to lose your house.
That's right.
And so I would recommend coming up with whatever corporate structure your attorney or accountant recommends that can help protect your personal assets.
And it's probably a little cleaner even on the insurance side if there is a separate structure there to do all that work within, even the policies.
Yes.
Yeah, it separates assets and
It does.
liabilities. Yep. So, with your experience, is there any are there any things that business owners typically overlook, or things that they may, they think they've got everything covered with general liability and property insurance? Well, there's other things out there I know that sometimes.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things that businesses forget about sometimes is their equipment coverage. Yes, we can throw equipment under a contents limit, but if you have large, high-value pieces of equipment, you want to make sure that those are replaced exactly what you have in them. So you want to schedule those by what's called an inland marine policy to get coverage for that equipment, where at your job sites or on your premises. That's one of the things. One of the big things over the last several years has been cyber liability. Unfortunately, if you haven't been hacked yet, you're probably going to be. And the hackers are going after the easiest targets, and small businesses are typically easier targets. As we mentioned, like Ohio Valley Bank, our sponsor here, that's a large financial institution. Your mom and pop business on Main Street doesn't have the capabilities that they have to maintain their system, but they still have a huge exposure for somebody hacking in and getting access to their client data, be it personal information, addresses, things like that. And that's something that we have really made a push at our agency to recommend, and seriously would recommend everybody consider talking to your agent about a cyber or data breach quote.
Right. And we've even seen that happen with some big major corporations. So it's not
corporations.
it's not just the small folks. It's,
No, that's what I say. If they
Yeah,
can get
it's-
into these large
it's-
multinational companies, they can sure get into
That's
the
right.
Wiseman agency system or whomever it might
Absolutely.
be.
So, hey, I've got one more question along those lines, and it may not be related. You may not be able to give any feedback, but you hear about these LifeLock commercials when we're talking about businesses, security
Right.
breaches and whatnot. But what about personal?
Personal.
Is that a form of insurance, or is
Or
it?
it's kind of a form of insurance.
Okay.
I mean, you buy it directly through them or through a financial institution. It's not something we sell, but on homeowners policies, there is some identity theft recovery tools that can pay to make you whole and to pay fees that you may acquire as a result of an identity theft or something like that. There's LifeLock. There's some other ones out there.
That's just a brand name.
Yes, that's the one a lot of people know. I mean,
They
guy puts his
advertise.
social security number on the commercial. So
So, obviously when folks go around and look for insurance, they're going to want to get the cheapest. And maybe sometimes that's good, maybe sometimes that's not good. You get what you pay for sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But, everybody's concerned about that premium. What's that premium rate?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes our premiums change and we don't even know what impacts them, even if we've not even had a claim. But what are some things that can influence premium? We know claims, first of all, can, but there's other stuff out there as well.
first and foremost, on a business insurance policy, yes, your individual claims definitely can cause your premium to fluctuate up or down, or lack of claims to go down. Biggest things in business policies that maybe the average business owner or startup doesn't understand is your sales and payroll affect a lot of things. And so, if you say your annual sales are $500,000 this year, well, you have a really good year, and next year it's $1 million, then the exposure is a lot bigger than it was, and the same with the payroll. Some of the other things that people don't necessarily realize is natural disasters, not just in this country, but worldwide, can affect property premiums overall, be it on your business, your home, whatever it might be. So when they're in a bad year or a bad 3 or 4 year stretch of natural disasters, be it hurricanes, tornadoes, large earthquakes, anything that has significant property loss, it affects premiums worldwide because the insurance companies, they buy insurance on their insurance,
Right.
and as those reinsurance rates go up, then it gets trickled down the line.
Well, as we were talking at lunch, I think Ohio, I'd heard on the radio, and you confirmed Ohio is one of the more user-friendly or customer-friendly insurance states of the neighboring states, as far as our auto rates are toward the bottom or cheapest, our homeowners are a little bit cheaper. And then, West Virginia, on the other hand, just right across the river, complete night and day.
That's exactly right.
And what you were talking about, that plays into that.
It absolutely does. Where you live, where your business is located, definitely affects. Each state has its own legal climate, its own rules and regulations for insurance. Insurance is governed at the state level. There are some national rules, but for the most part, it's left up to the states to govern. And so each state has its own Department of Insurance, its own rules and taxes and regulations. And so each state can be a little bit more difficult or open to deal in. Ohio, we have a very good legal climate. We have a state Supreme Court that has typically not legislated from the bench, and therefore, because of that, we have nationwide some of the better premium rates in the country, and that's good for our businesses and individuals. Could change with if legal climate or different rules come on. Don't anticipate anything at the moment, but that's something through no fault of your own, just basically because where you're located can cause premiums to go up or down.
And, okay, so again, just location here, and there's
Yes.
a lot of shoreline across the Ohio River.
No doubt about
But
it.
if you work in, or if you live in Gallipolis and you own a business in Point Pleasant, let's say, right across the river, you're going to be paying two different premiums, or could be.
Well, yeah, I mean, you would have a rate for
your
home
homeowners.
and stuff on this
And then-
side of the river in Ohio, and then West Virginia
So
rates
it
for
all
your
doesn't
business.
roll into one.
If you're, but even like a business with multiple locations, you're going to get rated on each location.
one,
So if you're based in Gallipolis and have a location in Point Pleasant or wherever, it's going to be different. And also where you're located within your town or county. If you're downtown, you're going to get a better property rate than if you're out 10 miles from a fire department. And so that can be a big factor as well, especially here in southeastern Ohio. It's a rural area, and so you have a lot of businesses that aren't in a traditional downtown business district. They're out off on a rural route or wherever it might be.
Yeah, that's good. Good to know.
Yeah. Now, going back to the premiums, are there some things that we can do as individuals to kind of influence our premiums? I've heard that maybe your credit influences your insurance premiums now?
Credit score definitely can influence premiums, especially on the personal side, the home auto, things like that. And for a sole proprietor, something like that, they're going to run your business or your personal credit for your rates as well. So that's definitely something. The higher the credit score you have, the better off you're going to be there. Some of the other things that you can do is try to maintain your property as best as you can. One of the things that I always encourage, when you do have a loss, try to mitigate that loss as much as you can. We talked earlier about like the derecho, and you had a lot of roofs get a lot of damage. Well, then if you can get a tarp on it before you can get a carpenter or a contractor, up there to replace it, then you're not going to have the rain or whatever coming in your house, and that helps out. So take a loss that's maybe $1,000 and don't let it turn into a $10,000 loss. Yeah. And so that's some of the things you can help. One of the things that can affect is kind of the way you pay for your insurance. If you pay for it in full, typically you're going to get a better rate than if you do a payment plan of some sort. Some companies give discounts if you do an electronic fund transfer for your payments, and some companies may offer different credits for instituting loss control programs or different safety campaigns to help mitigate losses.
Sounds like a lot of similarities to the lending.
It is very similar, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. Going to go talk to an insurance agent, not knowing exactly what they need, or businesses I'm talking about. What are some things that they can bring with them to maybe expedite the process or help you make better judgments or not better judgments, but be able to give them the
Point
best
them in the
package,
right direction.
point them in
Sure.
the right direction.
The best thing you can do if you're coming in to meet with me, Ryan, about a business you've either started or have operating right now, detailed list of all your operations, every service or product that you're providing, list of equipment, list of vehicles, lists of drivers, information about your property, age of construction, square feet, any updates to the roof, the wiring, the plumbing, things like that. But really knowing exactly how your business operates, all the products or services you provide, that's where we can point us in the right direction, because contractors, prime example, you may be talking to a person that specializes in, say, painting, but then come to find out, well, they'll do a little roofing, they'll do a little bit of this. Right. Well, if we don't know that, we may not have the right coverage that you need because we're not aware of it. So just giving us a detailed list of all of your operations, that's the number one way you can help us to protect you.
Well, and along those same lines, you said you started out painting, but then you changed into roofing. And how often should a business owner consciously say, it's time for me to really go back to my agent and review what I'm doing to make sure everything, because things change quickly and we don't even realize we're changing, but it changes around us. It
changes all the time. With a business insurance, I would recommend they get with their agent at least once a year, or ideally, that's the first call. Okay, we bought a vehicle. The first call is to the Wiseman agency or whoever your agent is.
Right.
The same thing. We're thinking about adding a new location or adding a new product or service. Well, okay, let's contact our insurance agent, talk to them. So, for one, depending on what your new service you may be providing, we may have to look at a completely different type of policy, because it may be so different from what the traditional scope of your business is. It may not be as simple as, they're adding this. No, we have to start over and look elsewhere. And it's the more time we have, the easier it is for us to get the right product to fit your needs.
Right. Okay.
I know we've all heard, I can't remember which carrier it is, but the bundling commercial on TV. So is there truth to that as far as if you bundle your homeowners or package it together with your business, or should those be separated, or do you have any? depends.
It does. It just depends. You know, you definitely can get a better rate with your home and your auto by having it with the same company. And
Okay.
really, a lot of companies out there will not insure a home without doing the auto as well. So, and more are becoming that way. When it comes to the business, some companies offer those types of discounts, some don't. But unfortunately, depending on the type of business, you may have to go to a company that doesn't do home or auto insurance, that just does business insurance because of the scope of your business. So that option's really not available to you. Or maybe your business is something that your homeowner insurance company also writes, but you live out in the boonies and your homeowner company, well, we don't write if you're 10 miles from a fire department. So there's things that, even though you would like to do that, that may be out of your control, that preclude you from being able to bundle everything together.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So then typically insurance companies kind of look at all those different things that you have in your package every year, kind of keep up to date, make sure you're protected.
I can't speak for all agents. That's what we do at the Wiseman Agency with the business clients. We want to review businesses. We have renewal meetings each month in-house to discuss the current clients coming up and try to meet with everybody as often as they want to. And like you said, things change before you even realize it, and, and everything's completely different from where you operated a year ago.
Okay. Now you mentioned going out and visiting the companies. Is it required to go out and visit, or is that just something you do, or is it a form of audit to make sure that they're in line with the policies?
It's not necessarily required. I like to get an eye on something that I'm going to insure, and we like to take photos of any buildings that we're going to cover and keep those in our files. And also some of the companies request those photos as well. It's a nice way to get out and get a little FaceTime and talk about what's changed in the business over the last time, since the last time we met. But you mentioned audits, and insurance companies do audits a lot. They have the ability to audit every year if they want. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But really, I'm what's called an independent insurance agent. So we represent a number of companies, not just one company. So the companies do that kind of by themselves, and then they send us the paperwork. So. You know, we may go meet with the customer to help them to complete an audit form, but that paperwork is going to come direct from the insurance company, and then and it's really just checking sales, payroll, things like that, and they want to see, okay, did we charge you enough this year, or do we need to give you a credit back because we overcharged you?
Okay.
So.
Well, Brad, I know I want to get. We're running short on time. I know this is flying by, but I think we've got about 3 minutes left. But one thing I do want to mention or ask about are bonds, especially in the contracting business. You know, we've got a lot of contractors. Can you, real quickly, I know it's not fair, but real quickly give us the description of bonds and what types?
Well, bonds, as you said, especially with contractors, that's probably what you see a lot, the most, the surety bonds, bid bonds. Basically, you have to pay a premium for a certain amount of money, dollar amount, such as say $500,000 for the project that you're going to bid on. What this covers is if you bid and are awarded this job and you do not complete the job for whatever reason, then that bond can be called on, and those funds will be used to hire somebody else to complete the job. You see this a lot with almost any public job requires a bond, and you see it a lot with private businesses as well, especially large companies. But it's just something that it is an insurance product, but it's different from just your liability or property.
A lot of times the bonds are one of the determining factors in having a bond issued are your financials.
Absolutely,
So
Ryan.
it's
I
almost
should have
like a
mentioned
loan.
it is very similar to a loan in that regard. They're going to look at your personal financials, your corporate financials. You know, and they're going to look at it for all owners. If the three of us own a business, they're going to want personals on all of us, and that it can be hard to get a bond. But once you get that first bond, if you don't have it called on, then it's easier to get the next one. And so long as you continue to do jobs correctly and not get your bonds called on, then it's easier and easier. But that's something that I always try to tell people. Contractors, especially new guys starting out, if your general contractor will allow you to get on his bond, do it, because then that can help you down the road when you're securing your own bond. 'Cause you say, hey,
It's
as
like
part of
co-signing for a vehicle.
yeah, this is a very similar situation. Yeah, you get a lot of that where you'll have a general contractor secure the bond, and then you're the plumbing guy, brings you on for your portion. You're the electric guy, bring you on and cover you under the same bond. But then that can help you all going forward with your own bonds.
Right. All right. Well, good deal. We're just about out of time. Jimmy, any closing comments you'd like to make or tips that we didn't talk about today?
I can't think of anything right off the top of my head. I appreciate you having me. Like you said, it's National Signing Day, so hopefully Ohio State has a good day here.
Yeah.
And thanks again for having me, and thanks to the University of Rio Grande and Ohio Valley Bank for putting this on.
Yes,
We appreciate you being here.
absolutely. And before we depart today, we definitely want to mention Brenna Butler with Ohio Valley Bank, who coordinated Jimmy to be on the show today and coordinates all of our guests for us here on Common Sense. And we just really appreciate all the work that she does behind the scenes to provide content for the show.
Yep.
And we thank you very much, Brenna, for all your hard work. So, but until we meet again next time in March, when the Buckeyes have everything in place for the next year,
That's right. It'll be spring ball.
it'll be spring ball. We'll be talking about the spring
That's
game.
right.
That's right.
So I'm Ryan Mapes.
And I'm Brad Babst. And we thank you for joining us on Common Sense.